Though South Sudan is one of the world's youngest nations, its history is among the most tragic. Shaped by decades of civil war, colonial exploitation, and a brutal struggle for independence that cost millions of lives, its journey to nationhood came at a devastating price. This video explores that history and ends with some of the most fascinating facts about the country, from the significance of the Nile River to its remarkable linguistic diversity and unique cultural practices. South Sudan is located in East Africa, bordering Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Central African Republic. It is the world's newest nation, having gained independence in 2011. The name Sudan comes from the Arabic bilad al-sudan, meaning land of the blacks, a term historically used for the region south of the Sahara. South Sudan's modern history is rooted in colonial divisions. In the 19th century, the region was part of the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, under British and Egyptian control. The British administered the northern and southern regions separately, fostering ethnic and religious divides that set the stage for future conflict. After Sudan gained independence from Britain in 1956, Southerners, predominantly Christian and animist, were marginalized by the northern, Arab-dominated government. This led to the First Sudanese Civil War from 1955 to 1972, followed by the Second Sudanese Civil War from 1983 to 2005, one of the deadliest conflicts since World War II. An estimated 2.5 million people died, mostly civilians, due to fighting, starvation, and disease, out of a population of roughly 6 million in the south by the 1980s, a staggering 40% mortality rate in the region. Over 4 million were displaced, creating one of the largest refugee crises of the time. The Southern rebels, led by the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, also known as SPLM, fought for autonomy and equal rights. In 2005, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement ended the war, paving the way for a referendum. In 2011, 98.8% of South Sudanese voted for independence, creating the Republic of South Sudan on July 9, 2011. But independence didn't bring peace. Almost immediately, internal conflicts erupted. In 2013, a power struggle between President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar sparked a civil war that killed nearly 400,000 people and displaced millions more. Ethnic violence fueled by Dinka-Nur rivalries led to massacres, sexual violence, and famine. The UN and African Union deployed peacekeepers to stabilize the region, but fighting persisted until a fragile peace deal in 2018. Even today, sporadic violence and humanitarian crises continue to plague the nation. South Sudan's oil fields, which account for 90% of its economy, have been both a blessing and a curse. Neighboring Sudan and foreign powers, including China and the United States, have vied for control of these resources. Disputes over oil fields along the Sudan-South Sudan border, particularly in Abyei, have fueled tensions. In 2012, South Sudan shut down oil production in protest of Sudan's high transit fees, crippling its own economy. A 2018 agreement redrew some boundaries, but conflicts over oil persist. And now, here is a list of fascinating facts and pieces of information about South Sudan. South Sudan celebrates its Independence Day on July 9th, marking its 2011 separation from Sudan. The national flag's colors carry deep meaning. Black represents the people of South Sudan. White stands for peace. Red symbolizes the blood shed for independence. Green reflects the land's fertility. Blue signifies the Nile River. And the yellow star represents hope and unity for the country's 60-plus ethnic groups. South Sudan is one of the most diverse nations in the world, with over 60 ethnic groups and more than 80 languages. English is the official language, a legacy of British colonial education, but Arabic, particularly Juba Arabic, Dinka, Nuer, and Bari are widely spoken. This linguistic diversity stems from the country's history of isolated communities, separated by vast savannas, swamps, and the Sud, one of the world's largest wetlands. The Sud, a massive swamp formed by the White Nile, is a defining feature of South Sudan. It's a biodiversity hotspot, home to millions of migratory birds, hippos, and Nile crocodiles. Local communities like the Nuer and Dinka rely on it for fishing and cattle grazing, but it also poses challenges for transportation and development. Cattle are central to South Sudanese culture, especially among the Dinka and Nuer, who are among the tallest people in the world, with men often averaging over 6 feet. Cattle are a measure of wealth and status, used for bride prices and resolving disputes. A traditional practice called ghost marriage persists in some communities, where a deceased man's family arranges a marriage for him to ensure his lineage continues. For example, let's suppose that you were a member of these communities but died before marriage. In that case, your brother or a close male relative will marry the bride on your behalf, and the children born from this union will be considered your children, even if they're not actually yours. South Sudan's religious landscape is diverse, with about 60% of the population Christian, 30% following traditional animist beliefs, and a small Muslim minority. Christianity spread through British missionary efforts, while animist practices like reverence for ancestral spirits remain strong. For example, the Mudari people perform rituals to honor cattle as sacred connections to their ancestors. The Nile River, the world's longest, is South Sudan's lifeline. It supports agriculture, fishing, and trade, but seasonal flooding can displace thousands. The country is also home to Boma National Park, one of Africa's largest wildlife reserves, where millions of antelope, including the white-eared kob, migrate annually, a spectacle rivaling the Serengeti. South Sudan's economy relies heavily on oil, but subsistence agriculture dominates daily life. Sorghum, maize, and millet are staple crops, and groundnut stew is a popular dish. Unlike many African nations, South Sudan has no international fast food chains like McDonald's or KFC, reflecting its economic challenges and limited infrastructure. Basketball is a growing sport, driven by South Sudanese diaspora in the NBA like Manute Bol and Luol Deng. The country's tall stature and athletic talent have made it a rising force in African basketball.
You know he's going to drill 2 out of 3, or what's that, 5 out of 7? I don't believe.
However, communal violence remains a challenge. Some ethnic militias have used traditional weapons like spears alongside modern firearms, prompting government restrictions on certain armed groups. The president is known for wearing a distinctive black cowboy hat, a gift from former U.S. President George W. Bush, symbolizing South Sudan's ties to Western allies during its independence struggle. The country uses the South Sudanese pound as a currency, but U.S. dollars are widely accepted in urban areas. And that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one. And as always, thank you so much for watching.